YouTube, what it is? It's your boy Q Diesel, Double Easy. Another episode all about semis. And I'm out here out there driving. Well, today I'm going to give you guys a quick lesson on DEF systems. So I'm going to jump right into this. So let's just get into it. So, on most systems that are Freightliner designs, or actually not even Freightliner design, we're going to say Detroit diesel design, because this one setup is on a lot of vehicles. So these systems are, yes, complicated in the nature of how they work, but they are not complicated in how they operate. And the most problems that people have is because, number one, they don't understand them, and number two, most people don't know how to troubleshoot them. Even though they claim to know how to troubleshoot them, some of these shops really do not know how to troubleshoot these systems. Hence, they either tell you to change a whole bunch of stuff that don't need to be changed, or they recommend deleting, and the list just goes on. This video is not about deleting or any of that. I mean, I can make a whole nother video in itself talking about that, or why I feel like you shouldn't, but that's a whole nother thing in itself. This is really just to those people that really don't understand how these systems work, and to kind of help when it's time to troubleshoot. I'm going to try and be as thorough as I can. So basically, with a system like this, you have a one box, is which they call this unit. I know it's a lot of glare, so you got to bear with me, but you have a one box. On this one box, there are different sensors and components. Now, before I get into the components, I want to talk about how the system operates. So basically, when the truck's regenning, going down the road, here's your exhaust pipe. It's coming from the engine. Hot exhaust goes in along with all the nasty stuff, gases and all that kind of stuff. It comes in, and then the first line of defense is your filters, your Dpf filters. It goes in, and once the gases enter the center, which is where your Dpf filters are, then what happens is the gas exits those filters, then they enter the second half of the box, which is called your DOCs, or deoxidation catalysts. And then what happens with those, first off, those deoxidation catalysts are just like Dpf filters, except they're very, very fine. They're even more finer than what your Dpf filters are. Everything that's not big enough to pass through is trapped before the Dpf filters and in front of that DOC. And all the things that are small, smaller gases get to go into this burn chamber here. And then you have another little sensor here, which is your doser injector for your dose injector for your DEF. This line comes from over the DEF tank where you put your DEF in. There's a pump back over there. You can probably see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. That's mine over there. You see the blue lines, the lines I just changed. But at any rate, that's that. So the fluid comes in from here. DEF is sprayed into this burn chamber. And what that does is it kills all that, you know, those nasty gases and particulate matter. That's the right terminology for it. It's a particulate residue that comes from the exhaust. Basically brings it down to almost water. And the mixture of DEF is ammonia and some other chemicals there, but primary ammonia and water. And that ammonia interacts with the diesel particulate matter, which creates NOx in the chamber, which also is gotten rid of by the DOC catalyst. Once all that's burned up, it exits out the back and out of your exhaust pipe. And that's why you see that exit pipe. That's your exhaust pipe that you see behind the sleeper coming off of the DOC box or the 1 box. Right? So that's pretty much a rough explanation of how that runs. Now, you have several sensors up here. Over here, you have a temperature sensor. And this is your inlet temperature sensor. And that's sensor 1. And then you have a inlet pressure sensor. And the same thing over here. You have an outlet. This is your outlet side, I'm sorry. Outlet temperature sensor. And these are pressure tubes, outlet pressure. This big silver tube is a inlet pressure. We'll get into why those are important. This guy back here is a NOx sensor, and that's NOx sensor. And this is actually the outlet side sensor. And then you'll have another, well actually that's the inlet, I'm sorry. So it's kind of confusing because the side it's on. But on my truck, this is actually the inlet. And at the bottom, behind the unit, at the bottom, is the outlet NOx sensor. Now, those NOx sensors are what primarily is most people's problems, because that thing will cause so many different symptoms and codes, and a lot of guys, if they don't know how to troubleshoot that system properly, can misdiagnose that. Now over here is your pressure meters and your metering valves that comes off of your, try to keep the light for you guys, that comes off of your pressure box and your DPF box. So you see that blue line? That's a DEF fluid line that's coming in. That's a feed line. And this feeds, this is your metering, your main metering valve, and it controls all your pressures that come down into your box. This is a metering valve. Sometimes these go bad, they get clogged up, and then the symptoms that you'll have are symptoms like possible low DEF pressure, but that's usually attributed to a bad DEF pump from the box, the filler box. But you could also have a low pressure coming from this guy here, because this also regulates pressures as well. And as you can see, there's a multitude of different valves and pressure fittings and plugs. And this is also where your inlet and outlet sensors plug in. And these are the modules. When you buy the sensor, it actually comes with this whole piece. You can't unplug this, but it unplugs here, it unscrews. This is just the harness, but this piece is all one piece. So it comes with this igniter. This is your igniter for your NOx sensors. And you have two here, and they are mounted on this side. Alright, so crash course here. So metering, pressure is going to be over here. NOx sensor connections are going to be over here, and they're pretty simple to change. Once you get them off the one box, you unplug them over here. There's two star screws, one there and one there. I think it's two screws that hold each one. See, one there and one there. and you pull the first one off, and then it's another one right behind it. And actually, this one holds them both in, so once you unbolt them, they both will come out together. And you can just change that yourself. A lot of people paying a lot of money to change this, and this is really an easy job. The hardest part about changing these knock sensors is sometimes they rust and then they don't come out, and they'll rust, and it's almost a pain, and they'll strip in there and all that. So that's why a lot of people are afraid to mess with them. Just like these are temperature sensors, like I was telling you earlier, but you see how rusty they are? They probably will be a pain in the ass to change, and I got to change them, but I have never had to change them. Now, I can tell you from experience that if you properly maintain your DEF system, it will last you with almost zero problems. How do I know that? A lot of people are going to probably debate me on this and might not believe me when I say this, but this is the original DEF system, one box on here. Original Dpf filters have never been changed, and that's because the way two reasons, three, actually quite a few reasons. And this truck has now it has 860 on it. How do I know all this is original? One, I had the paperwork for it. Two, I've been around this truck since it was brand new. Yes, brand new. I know the people that owned it before I got it. They bought it brand new and they had it ordered. I knew the guy that owned the company that this truck was at before I got it. So he bought this truck new in 2013. He bought it new. Had it ordered with had it ordered stretched with 140-gallon tanks, which mid roofs you don't see. And I'm sitting here talking, thought I was showing you guys the tanks. 140-gallon tanks, mid roofs. You don't see mid roofs with 140-gallon tanks. Had it ordered with the box. Had it ordered stretched because they used to pull ambulance trailers, and you got to have that space so vehicles not hitting up against the truck. But more importantly is that he ordered it with the APU. He ordered all the trucks actually in the fleet with the APU, so that they didn't idle the trucks, because he knew that was one of the primary problems. This was fairly a new system around that time still with the DPF and all that. So he ordered it new, and this truck's never idled. And even still, you know, it never really idled. And that's the key to having longevity of your DPF system and not having problems with your DPF system, because we're still talking about how the system operates and the way that they design these to run. And the reason that most people that have problems with their DPF systems, most of this lesson now is going to be pretty much from me inside the truck. So let me get you set up and put down. So most of the problems that people have is because, number one, they idle the truck. And the trucks are not designed to be idled. DPF trucks are not designed to be idled. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. If you don't believe it, look it up. They're not. So have you ever noticed that most people that have problems, it's either random. It's like, oh man, I was just sitting there idling and I went to sleep and I woke up and my dash was on like a Christmas tree. Or I was just rolling down the road. I went in the store, let the truck run to get some fuel, come back, and I had a light on. My DEF was acting up. Or I woke up and something, you know, it's always sitting. And the reason is behind this also is that you'll hear people that run local. A lot of local trucks have a lot of DPF problems. And the reasoning is, again, we're going to go back to how the system operates. The reasoning is the DPF trucks are designed to regenerate while you're going down the road on the highway. And this is why they tell you you're supposed to, even if you're doing local, that those local trucks should be at least ran on the highway at least an hour to 45 minutes a day, that they're being ran on a highway. Because when you're stopping and going, it does not give the system a chance to heat up the exhaust, which is something I left out on the talking about the outside stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead back out and I'm gonna show you that, because getting back into how it operates, you have your doser, which is your diesel fuel doser that injects exhaust diesel fluid into your exhaust to get the exhaust hot enough to initiate the regen process. So when you're going down the road on normal highway driving, diesel fluid is being sprayed into the exhaust system, getting it nice and hot, which is allowing the regeneration process to happen. This is why when the truck's regenning and they tell you that that thing gets up to about 1100, 1200 degrees, because it's injecting that fuel into the exhaust to get it hot enough to burn the diesel particulates out of the filters and off of the deoxidation catalyst. And I was going to talk about that some more later here in the video, but we'll get back into that diesel oxidation catalyst of how the actual regen works and why sometimes when people regen, their regen doesn't work or it doesn't fix their problem. But we haven't, I'd have to be jumping ahead to get to that. So it sprays fuel into the exhaust, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you that. So hold on a second. All right, got the hood open. Let's see if I can show you guys the doser injector. So right here under the turbo, you might not see it because some trucks got a cover on here. I took my cover off. But right in here, this line runs into a doser injector, and it's right behind the turbo, and it injects fluid into the exhaust. It injects diesel fuel into the exhaust. Let's clarify that. Not DEF fluid, diesel fuel. And this is why most people that delete their trucks say that they notice an immediate more input of power, and they also notice better fuel mileage because they're not wasting that fuel that's going into the exhaust for the regeneration process. Okay? So now, got that out the way. So when you're going down the road, go ahead and close my hood. When you're going down the road, the truck is supposed to be regenning. When you're doing long haul, that is the best thing for the regeneration process, because it's long, it's giving that one box and the filters time to burn those filters off and clean them up good and everything. I mean, it really burns them up and cleans them up. So what it does is it constantly is keeping those filters clean. It's keeping the filters clean when you're going down the road. But when you're stopping and going and you're doing local, you're not having enough time for the system to operate properly. You're not giving the one box, the truck, however you want to say it, you're not giving the one box, I'm going to speak to the system because we're talking about the system, but you're not giving the one box the time to operate because you're stopping and going. So the number one, the exhaust is not getting high enough. And hold on a second, this guy's trying to back up. All right, this guy was trying to back up, was trying to make sure he was good. So you're not giving it enough time when you're doing those short hauls. And this is why some guys be like, man, every time I turn around, I go somewhere, truck trying to regen. You really hear that a lot with local guys because the truck's not being driven on the highway long enough to have a full regeneration. So that's why when you're truck shopping, the first question should be, has this been a local truck or an OTR truck? Because that's going to tell you a lot right there. I got a fly in here, man. It's going to tell you a lot about the truck. DPF system and if it has an APU, which is what I was getting at about the APUs. This is why APUs are very invaluable, because those APUs, number one, it keeps you from sitting there idling, which is not good. It is not good for a DPF system. Again, you guys do your own research, but it is not good for a DPF system to have a truck sitting there idling. One, the truck's not getting, again, you're filling up your filters. That's pretty much all you're doing, is you're wasting DEF fluid, and it's filling up the filters. It's trying to keep the exhaust clean, but it's not hot enough to burn off the filters. And by the time you start driving, you've built up a good amount of particulate on the filters. So now you're going to have to do another regen, or a long enough regen, and hope. Getting back to the deoxidation catalyst. So when you're doing a regen and you're sitting there parked and the regen's happening, it's cleaning primarily. It's trying to burn off what's in the filters. Once that's done, what people don't realize, what they never do, is they never clean the DOCs, which is the deoxidation catalyst. There's a feature for that, and you're supposed to have those clean. You can't do that unless you have the computer or whatever to set up. You just can't do it. Now, when you hook up to the computer, there's actually an option that it asks you to clean the DOC filters, and then you can click on it and it'll run. It'll almost feel like a regen, but it's actually cleaning the DOCs. But hence, if you have a clean system already, you generally don't have to ever do a DOC cleaning if you're operating run. But if you're a local, DOC cleaning is almost like critical, because you're not doing long haul long enough to get that clean. I feel like I might have forgotten something, but if I did, we'll come back to it. The other thing is, when you have the computer system and you plug into the truck, it will actually tell you how full your filters are. I'm actually curious to know how full mine are, because I know the last time I checked, which was several months ago, I was somewhere like 86 or so percent. So I need to look. Matter of fact, while I got you guys paused, I'm gonna hook up my computer. I'm going to see what my percentage is, because again, these are the original filters on here. So let me see what my percentage is. Okay. All right. So while I'm hooking up everything, I guess I'll explain to you guys about what you need when you want to troubleshoot this kind of stuff. So this is a network controller. This is what is used for the truck to talk to the computer. This runs about $700 for this piece, and I got this from DG Electronics. They're mainly the main popular company that makes these. So this is something that if you're going to invest in this stuff, you don't cheap out on this, like, because also this is compatible with every other truck too. The only difference is you have to buy the software for each manufacturer. So if you got like a KW or PACCAR, they have their own software. Detroit has their own software that talks to this. So this can talk to any of the manufacturer. You just have to have the software on the computer to talk. I have the Detroit Diesel, which is diagnostic link, and that's what I use. And I invested in that. The whole system ran me probably about $1,300 for everything, with the computer and all, and the software. So we're gonna go ahead and hook up, and then I'm going to see what mine is, because I really need to know anyway. But yeah, but you guys know I do nothing but long haul for most part, or I'm on the highway a lot, a couple hours in each direction at any given point. So my DPF system is really lasting a long time, because I don't idle the truck and I'm on the road a lot. Now, I just replaced my knock sensors. They just went out this year. It's 2022. They just went out. I think one was changed years ago, and I believe that my buddy, the previous owner, told me that he might have changed one. But when I looked at all the records, because his dad kept meticulous records of all the trucks, and this particular truck he drove, and so meticulous, I could show you guys. I got paperwork. He used to make them write, even when they put fuel in the trucks, on black, the old school note, the composition books. I got like tons of sheets out of the composite when I bought the truck that they gave me from when the truck ever had fuel in it, whatever was done on the truck. But I think he said that he put one knock sensor in, and that was probably, 5 or 6, 7 years ago. And I just replaced two. I just replaced them both. I did videos on it, it's somewhere in there, but I just did them this year. So, or the ending of last year or something. But 21 or 22, I just did them. I mean, come on. So that speaks to that. But I changed them both because when you change them, it's usually an idea you change them both. You just want to go ahead and change them both. All right, I'm plugging up. Give me a second, and I'll be right back as soon as I can get this thing plugged up. All right, we're plugged up there. And I gotta cut the computer on, and well, the computer's already on. I just gotta open it up and plug the system up. And then too, you can also, while the truck's running during the region, you can see what's going on with the system, which will tell you if you need to service or do anything with the DEF system, which is why this is a good investment to know and to know about, or know somebody that with it that knows how to troubleshoot this stuff. The DPF system also has its own computer separate from the truck. So when you see lights and stuff pop up on the dash, that's coming from the after treatment. That's the proper terminology. It's coming from the after treatment module, which is your DPF system. So bear with me. I'm opening up my program so I can check my ash accumulation is what it's called, because that's what the diesel particulate matter is. It's another fancy word for ash. So these are the reasons why I say that, APUs for newer trucks. It's not just about being able to be comfortable, because you got AC and all that stuff while your engine's off, but also the wear that it takes off of your engine every time you don't have to idle your engine. I just had a buddy of mine just left Landstar, and I had been telling him to get an APU forever, and he finally got his own authority, and he called me about a couple weeks ago. Man, I got the APU. Oh my God, man, it's life-changing. I said, yeah, I know, you preach to the choir. Now think about how long I've been telling you to get it, and you just getting it. And he said, but you know what? He said, mine has a clock on the side, and it tells me how many hours is on each part of the unit. So I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, it tells me how many hours are on my, that I use the AC or the heat. I said, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. I said, well, mine tells me that, tells me just how many hours are on the APU in general. And he says, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, so what's the verdict as of right now? Because this is only 30 days in for him. And he says he's got 700 hours already on his APU, on his air conditioning. And he said, man, that's 700 hours that's not on my engine. I started laughing, and I said, so think about how many hours that you got on it, all the idling for the years that you done had this truck. And that's why people have DEF problems with newer trucks more so than any other problem, because they're local and they don't have no kind of APU, and they're not running it long enough, because that system has to run It has to be running long enough. This is why regenerations take so long when they're parked, because they need that time. And that's the whole reason. Since I had my truck, it's never asked me if we're regen until that one day that I told you guys that doser got clogged up, and it wasn't sending enough fuel into the exhaust to heat up the exhaust to properly complete the regen. And you'll get codes when your doser is clogged. You'll get codes that basically say low DEF temp, or you'll get that. That's usually a sign of no fuel getting into the exhaust or a clogged doser. And the dosers usually never have to replace them. They just build up carbon, like literally like carbon in an oven. It builds up carbon. Diesel builds up carbon. So you just take it out. You take something like a screwdriver or a pick. You clean out the hole, and it's really easy to get out. I did a video on it. It's in there, and you'll never have a problem with it. So I don't have any codes. Let's go to actions. I probably got to turn it on. I didn't want you guys having to listen to this beeping. So let me pause this and get this under control. All right, guys, I got everything plugged up. Got the air pressure up, so you ain't got to be hearing the beeping. So open up the computer, and then we're going to look at, hang on, what we're looking for is after treatment. I don't know why it's like so. There we go. I'm actually going to lock this in here. So here's our after treatment, and then it'll give you all the different options. After treatment, see, DOC face, I think it's number 4 down. DOC face plug cleaning. Nobody ever normally does that. You have to do that, and that'll keep your DOCs clean. On Freightliners, in the one box, you can't replace the DOCs, but on some other trucks like KWs and Peterbilts, you can replace every component in the DEF system, which is kind of nice. But Freightliner, they made everything replaceable except the DOCs, and this is why when you hear guys say, "Man, I had to buy a whole new box," generally that's rare. I always say either somebody didn't really troubleshoot it, or if the box has to be cracked, or there has to be a crack in the DOCs. And even Detroit tells you, do not replace that box unless there's a verified crack in the box or verified defects or cracks in the DOCs. But moving right along, so I have ash accumulator highlighted. So we're gonna go ahead and click that, and it's gonna tell me, ooh, 93%, 93.5. So I'm almost at my max. And what this means is you cannot regen this away. You see, my system is functioning properly. Everything is still flowing, but I have to either replace the filters and then go back in here, and it'll ask you see these red dots? It's saying serial number should be of this format. For both filters, you have to put the serial numbers in to tell this truck that you actually changed the filters, and then this number will reset itself. Or you have an option to say if you cleaned or remanufactured, new, or aftermarket replacement, right? So if I had cleaned them, I can go back in here and say cleaned, and then like I say, I go in there, clean them, and put my filter numbers in. But to get the filter numbers, you have to pull them off to get the numbers. So they make sure that you pull them off to do it. But I'm at 93.5%, which is phenomenal. And it'll take still, even for me to get probably to 95, because of the way that I drive. I honestly probably can go probably mid half year of next year and still not hit 100 yet. That's when you have a properly running system that you're upkeeping. So that's that. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And if your vehicle is asking for a regen, then and you are OTR, then something is either in the makes of going wrong, or something's not working efficiently, like your filters. Because if your system is operating, the truck should never ask you for a regen. If you're over the road, should never ask you for regeneration. Like I told you guys, my truck never asked me for a regeneration going down the road, or when I was stopped or anything, until I had that one problem, because it wasn't working properly, you know. And then a buddy of mine, well, we used to be buddies. I don't think we're as cool as we had a little spat, and he couldn't respect how I felt about something, so we kind of had to part ways. But he was just telling me the last time I talked to him that he did not. He said, "Man, my truck's never asked me for a regen," and he said it scared him because it popped up and was like he needed a regen. Well, come to find out, I scanned his truck for him. I went and looked at it for him, and I told him he had a bad pump. His pump was bad because the pump wasn't pumping out the right amount of pressure. And then I did the proper test, because to even do the test, you need to have this. And long story short, part of that reason we stopped talking is because, I did that for him several times, went out my way and to go look at his truck for him. And, he got mad with me because I told him, I said, "Man, you not once have you ever said thank you, man." And he took it to a whole nother level. And I was like, all I wanted you to say was thank you, So I said, moving forward, you're going to have to pay me for coming out my way like that. And I just kept it 100. And, because if you know somebody, and I'm going to leave you guys with this, if you know somebody that has this system, and they hook their computer up and they're looking at your truck for you, and you feel like they should be doing that for free every time you ask them, you need to evaluate yourself, because like I said, this is not cheap. And two, before I got this, when I went to the dealer, they charged me $200 just to plug this up, and all I wanted was a thank you, or I appreciate it. And 4 times back to back working on this truck for my buddy, and he didn't even say thank you. And if you're mad at me because I just said I don't feel like you appreciate it, then I guess we wasn't ever cool to begin with. So, don't take for granted those people that got your back. Not to mention, I drove my truck to where he was broke down at. I was in my semi truck, and he was broke down off of 95, and I ain't even gonna get into where, whatever. But when you have people like that, just, show people that you appreciate them when they do things for you. It's your boy Q Deezy. I hope this information was valuable for somebody in some way, shape, or form. Like, subscribe, share it. If there's anything you guys want to know moving forward with that, let me know. Peace out. Have a great day. Oh, and one last thing. Another healthy thing to, I didn't throw this in there because this should kind of be common sense. You could also have DBEF problems if you get bad fluid. Sometimes some of these stops have bad DEF fluid or contaminated fluid, which can throw a code and make you think you got a problem when you really don't. A lot of the times the computer is the sensors on these things are that precise that it will actually come up and tell you low def quality. So, but again, that's about having the right equipment to read that, and read between the lines, because sometimes you can have more than one code, but you got 2 codes, but it's really only one problem that's causing both codes. So, that's about knowing how to know somebody that knows how to troubleshoot the systems. Okay, and pretty much that's it. It's your boy Hugh Deezy, Double Easy. Another episode all about semis. How about you out there, driver?